Hello, I'm Gideon Hodge, and this is Beer Country.
That's that table drawer.
Slate, please.
Gideon, stop snoring.
Right here.
I'm here at Winston's Pub in Old Metairie, a local neighborhood watering hole since the 1930s. And I'm here with Patrick, one of the managers here at Winston's. Patrick, what are some things that you could tell me about Winston's? A little bit about its history, a little bit about how Winston's came to be.
The building itself has been a bar since the 30s. Winston started about 13 years ago. Three good friends, and started out with a couple different incarnations, and then wound up with this, which seems to have stuck, especially since recent remodel and revamp of the beer menu as well as the cocktails. It's been something that's a lot of fun, and setting records every month. So definitely loving the place, but it's been a crazy hodgepodge of bars since the 30s. But
Okay, you said setting records. What kind of records are we talking about?
we've been sales records since November have been fantastic. So we recently went smoke free, and several other aspects have changed, and we're just seeing a nice steady increase in business. Management has done a great job at balancing the beer, the cocktails, and the business side. So I love what I do, and I love where I work. So
I mean, surrounded by these delicious beers, what's not to love, right? Remember that, bar owners, microbeers sell.
without a doubt.
All right, so you've got a wide variety of different types of beer, as I understand. You've got, your pilsners, ales, lagers, like brown lagers, porters, and stouts. And what kind of differentiates those beers, or what kind of changes from beer to beer?
I'm glad that you asked that, and the way that you did it, because it gives me a chance to kind of help everybody who hears this and you learn more about beer than everybody else knows. There's really only two types of beer in the world. There's lagers and ales. So 80% of the beers in the world fall under the ale category, and then you have lagers, and the yeast is the only thing that is really separating the two types of beer. So under lagers, they ferment at a little bit colder temperature, and so you're gonna have lighter, crisper beers normally when it comes to the lagers. So anytime you see a Bock, anytime you see a traditional American lager, there's a German-style beer called a Kolsch, and there's Pilsners. All of those fall under the lager category. Almost everything else falls under the ale category. So, your brown ales, porters, all stouts, pale ales, IPAs, all of that are ales. And so typically with your ale yeast, which ferments in a slightly warmer temperature, you're going to get a lot of fruitier flavors and yeasty bread flavors. That the yeast really imparts an enormous amount of flavor into the beer. So that is something that a lot of people didn't realize. Yeah, there's only two types of beer in the world. So lagers and ales.
And there you have it. All right, so one of the things I wanted to ask about is basically, the differentiation, now that I know that everything's either lager or ale, outside of that, what makes, for instance, what makes a stout a stout? What makes a pilsner a pilsner? What is it specifically that differentiates these types of beer?
Well, first of all, I'm really glad that you're asking about the styles. I think that's the most important part for people to learn is, there's so many beers out there. Don't feel you're going to get overwhelmed. You're going to get really confused if you're trying to remember everything just by an individual beer. So I think if everybody learns the styles of beer and what flavor profiles those styles are supposed to have, you can quickly gravitate in the right direction of where your preferences are gonna lean. I think I mentioned earlier that most people gravitate towards either a sweeter beer or a hoppy or bitter beer. So kind of to answer your question is really most of the styles is just from lighter flavor profile all the way to full flavor. You're just running the gamut and that's what makes the styles different. So I guess to answer that, for instance, let's say Pilsner Urquell here. Let's start on the hoppier bitter side of the spectrum. This would be kind of the standard for all Pilsners, but everybody knows Miller Lite is considered a Pilsner. It's triple hopped, so
Miller Lite is, or
that'd be good.
That's not just a marketing thing.
Well, I think they take a cone of hops and dip it in 3 times, and just kidding. So I don't want to bash on the big boys. I know that's popular. But those beers are actually very difficult to brew, because if anything goes wrong in the brewing process, that off flavors are highly pronounced. So to brew that much, that consistently, at that light of flavor is difficult to do. But that aside, so let's say, for instance, on the hoppier side of the spectrum, you're looking at, let's take a Miller Lite. That would be on the very light side. Then you'd move to, say, a really nice Pilsner. One step above that would be a pale ale. You're starting to get richer hop presence, as well as they're adding more malt, you're adding more grain to balance out that bitterness. So a pale ale, then an IPA, and then you can go to an Imperial IPA.
All right, so recapping, we've gotten a chance to go over a lot about the history of craft beers, how we got to where we are, things that happened with microbreweries in this country, going into the difference between lagers and ales, what makes the difference between pilsners, IPAs, and stouts. Pick your own, find your own, see what you like, mix and match with friends. They're like trading cards. You just trade them in and out. Other than that, except you can drink these playing cards, which is a win-win for everyone.
I would say, by the way, contact your local brewery. Contact NOLA, contact Lazy Magnolia. Go stop by them. They're always willing to talk beer.
or see who's in your area.
And if you go on a tour, they'll give you beer.
They'll talk. They like talking about beer.
And these people know their beer. This is Gideon Hodge with Beer Country here at the Winston's Pub in Old Metairie, Louisiana. Thank you for sitting with us, and bottoms up.